Okay. No. When I was growing up, my father was a pastor, my mom was a Sunday school superintendent, and most of my early years are spent church, home, school. Church, home, school. When I finally got connected to sports, it was in 1980. I became a Dallas Cowboy fan. Sorry. I became a contentious Washington Capitals, Baltimore Orioles, and those are the teams that I stuck with over the years. And I watched them, and I haven't cultivated them, but I watched them win championships. And I love sports. I love turning on the sports and watching them compete. And sometimes my heart is hurt when my team is losing. Sometimes my heart is big time when they're winning. And that's what really got me on sport.
Yeah, me, it was just in school I was a point guard. And the powerful thing about being a point guard is I don't have to score for us to win. I can dish, I can see the entire floor, I can see what we need, I can see where we're weak. I can see, the boisterous nature of the guy saying he's so great, but he isn't really practicing. So for me, my movement affects the other 9 players on the court. And the point guard is kind of like a coach, an extension of the coach on the court. So for me, that was always, a good thing. And just seeing how when you're playing sports, it almost doesn't matter what you're about, what you think. It's like, yo, are you good at this or are you bad at this? And there was one place where, there's a certain language or unspoken camaraderie or brotherhood or sisterhood that went along with that. And so for me, and that translates outside of just basketball. For me, that's kind of like how I fell in love with sports in general from that floor general perspective.
For me, I've been playing sports since I was in diapers, but this is a political crowd, so I'll kind of give you a political vantage point. Sports for me kind of represents the one thing in America where people from all cultures, all races, all genders can stand together, on a Saturday or Sunday or whatever, and they can high five the person next to you, and they might be a liberal Democrat, and you might be a far right-wing Republican. And it doesn't matter, but you come together because sports has always brought our country together. If you look at the Great Depression, it was sports, it was baseball that got us through that. If you look at 9/11, right, it was sports that kind of got us through that too. That kind of rallied everybody. So for me, it's kind of sports is that common ground that brings everybody together. It doesn't see race, it doesn't see gender, it doesn't see color, any of that. So religion, same thing. So for me, that's kind of what I like about sports.
So I often joke that I am a refugee from Los Angeles. But in truth, sometimes I think back to what bound my identity to LA other than just my family and my friends. LA is a very stratified place in terms of race, class, religion, and I couldn't really pinpoint what I thought of myself as in terms of the context of LA. Last month, when Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna died in that terrible helicopter crash, my phone just flooded with all these texts. Everyone who I had ever been to a Lakers game with, everyone who had ever idolized Kobe with me, his daughter Natalia went to my high school. And it kind of reminded me that that was what bound us as Angelinos. Sports. The Lakers, they were a part of our identity. And so when that just broke through, it was such a salient reminder that that's one of the final things that threads together cities that are so diverse for better and for worse. We have sports, and that's a part of our birthhood, and I mean it's a foundational part of our identity as Americans, and for me as an Angelino.
I like to gamble. I'm a big gambler. Look, I enjoy, for one, I enjoy the competition part of it. There are no handouts. There is no, go win or go lose. That's where you are. I love the competition part of it, of squaring off one-on-one, and let's see who the best man. And I've always enjoyed that. And I enjoy watching people do things that I can't do. You know, anybody can go out there and roll a bowling ball into the gutter. I mean, I do that all the time. Not anybody can do what LeBron James can do, what Tom Brady can do. Not anybody can do that, and I like watching people do great things, whether that be sports or anything else. I like watching greatness.
Jesse, how tall are you?
6'8".
If I were 6'8", I'd still be in the NBA. That's right.
Over the past couple years, you know, you go to work on Monday in order to make Monday a little more tolerable. You often talk about the games on Sunday, and what a lot of folks have said to me around that water cooler chit chat. Did you see how they did yesterday? They say, I don't watch that anymore, and it is because of Colin Kapernick. It's because of the open corporatization. It's because they think the league is corrupt. The refs can't ever get it right. But something is happening that is causing people to not tune in anymore. What do you think that is, Jesse Kelly? Start with you. Why are people rejecting this thing that you all agree is a reflection of values, hard work, people coming together? Why are people tuning out in an angry kind of way?
Because people compartmentalize things, and sports is your escape. I mean, sports is a nice escape. It's not that we need to escape our lives here in America. We have pretty daggone good lives, but we all have a job of some kind all week long. And when I sit down on Sunday and I turn on the television, it's not left or right. I don't want to hear any politics, man. I want to see you shoot threes. I want to see you throw passes and score touchdowns. I don't want to have to deal with that crap. And if I have to deal with more angst on a Sunday to turn on the game, then I'll turn off the game. We are in a society where we're blessed to have 8 million options of things to do. I mean, you might even have to spend time with your family. But the truth of the matter is, if I'm going to be blasted with politics, and I'm going to turn on ESPN, and I'm going to hear about the latest victim culture, then I'm just going to turn the channel and I'm going to watch something else. I watch it because I compartmentalize my life. And if you're going to invade that compartmentalization and ruin it for me, then screw you. I'll change the channel and watch something else.
Tiana, has politics affected your consumption of sports? Do you still watch as much as you did 10 years ago?
So probably not, but in different ways. So on the one hand, there was that period years back when watching the NFL was either an endorsement or a condemnation of how you felt specifically about police brutality. The combination of watching these people who are paid millions of dollars a year to toss a ball around a stadium, that was supposed to be comparable to how you felt about racial justice in America, which seems extraordinarily facile. But now that we've injected politics into sports, it's impossible to take it away. I have difficulty thinking about watching the NBA, knowing now that they're willing to pay lip service to all of this sort of propagandizing and not stand up to the Chinese dictatorship. Because the moment you've decided that you will litigate what is and is not morally just, then you have to become a moral arbiter of everything. And so, in a capitalist society, yes, we're voting with our dollars, we're voting with our views. So when you've decided to say that what you are commenting on or what you are endorsing is expressly political, even when it's meant to be entertainment, it makes it a little bit more difficult to decide what you will enjoy.
You touched on the China issue as we look at Brock. Yes, it's entertainment. Yes, it's an escape, but it's also a business, and that business is based on eyeballs and clicks and merchandise and jersey sales. Brock, you have such a unique perspective about how the NBA is seeking to make sure that it gets 1 billion Chinese eyeballs on American basketball. Tell a little bit about it and what your experiences are in having to bring basketball to the People's Republic of China.
So when I retired from playing about 4 years ago, I was in China. I was working there. Yao Ming's a good friend of mine, and I own youth basketball academies around China, and I was bringing NBA teams and players and NCAA teams to come over there and compete and play. And for any of you that have been to China, you understand that basketball is like a religion over there. Now, I could go down a rabbit hole, I'm not going to. The reason is the NBA is looking for revenue in China because the NBA has left the middle American voter, I think, a lot of times because of their far left socialist bullshit that they're behind. But, and so that's where they're seeking, you know, like the NBA was built in the 80s and 90s, right? You had guys with their shirts off and their painted faces and they were blue collar American workers at games, at hostile environments. Now it's a wine and cheese crowd. So, and the NBA, and they're not gonna tell you this publicly, but the attendance has dropped, you know, the fanfare has dropped, and so they make that up in China. And they got a real problem right now on their hands. However, I don't hold them personally accountable. Like, I don't think they should be a geopolitical force in China to carry the torch for everything that's wrong about political communism and everything like that, because they're a private entity, no different than Nike or anyone else or Apple that does business over there. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that.
Does the NBA, I want to be specific here, have an obligation, given that it's American basketball? I know that it is becoming increasingly internationalized with its player pool, but does it have an obligation to reflect American values in when they bring it to other countries?
I think it does because there's an authenticity of the product. However, like I said, it's a private sector company, so they have an obligation to their owners and the league to make money. Now, like I said, I wish it wasn't in China, but that happens to be where it is. That's where a lot of American companies, I mean, look, if you held every American company accountable for all the business they've done in China, you know, we could sit here and talk at CPAC for a month, right? But I think because the NBA is something that's in the forefront of society and everybody follows it just like sports, it's tough. So sometimes they get a strong burden.
How many of you saw Maj's speech earlier today? Yeah. So I think you got a good sense of where his heart is at and how he thinks of the world and thinks of American history. Powerful remarks on Frederick Douglass. Sports is often, you know, you talk about the NFL, the NBA especially, you sign the big contract as a player, but the owners are still making the lion's share of money. It puts those athletes' contracts to shame, and it's often been called, you know, it's the proverbial rich folks in the smoke-filled back room making all the decisions. And some players even call the NBA the plantation, a new form of slavery. What do you think about those type of comments?
So one, slaves aren't paid. And I think I know what those guys mean. You know, that's why one of the reasons why. Let me back up a bit. So first, I don't view basketball or sports because we tend to only focus on basketball and football, which is primarily African American. We're not having this conversation about the Major League Baseball or hockey or tennis. You know, and you know, Ronaldo, you know, who at one point was the largest, you know, sportsman in the world. Soccer is the biggest sport in the world. He made political decisions based on, you know, things as well. So I don't want to leave that out. So the other part of it is these athletes that are expressing, if we're going to now re-back it to isolate it to NBA players and NFL players, there is nothing more American than rebellion. There is nothing more American than that. I think Colin Kaepernick, in his initial breakdown of why he was protesting, and this is the part where some people may disagree with me, and that's fine. This was about Americans that happened to be melanated being murdered by corrupt portions of law enforcement. That's what that was about. I think the media, and we all in here know that if you're conservative, the media will hijack your message. The media will tell you that you're a racist for being here, right? So why would we trust that same media that when he gave a clear example of why I'm protesting, why would we expect that media to not spin it? The media makes money off of chaos and confusion. And I think that any athlete that's doing any job, I do not agree with the concept that because you have a job, you now don't have the human right. Our Bill of Rights are fundamental human rights, not granted by government, not granted by a corporation. I don't have to agree with Colin Kaepernick. I don't have to agree with LeBron James. I don't have to. I think it takes a more nuanced, layered, and intelligent mind to super compartmentalize, to say that's his or her political view. I'm not talking to them or listening to them for that, but they have the right and the freedom to do so. So that's the first step. Now when you fast forward a bit to owners, making more money than the workers. Well, the owners built the stadium. I mean, like, bro, like when I was trapping, when I'm selling weed, yo, if you work for me, you on this corner, this your shift. I'm gonna give you $20 off the 100 pack. That's it. You could not sell it. You could not play in the NBA. You could do what Ice Cube did. You can start your own league. I mean, that's American too. You know, so I just have this thought process of like recognizing the objectivity. And then Ice Cube is gonna have a hell of a rumble. And then if he's not very, very careful, as his league continues to grow and expand, right? If he's not very, very careful, he'll be in the same position. You become what you hate if you're not very, very careful. You know, so these are subtle nuances and layers. This is not like we're just talking about sports, but this isn't new. Roman Colosseums existed hundreds and hundreds of years ago. You know, we've had these conversations about labor force and workforce and ownership. You know, the players and the owners, the labor unions and the bosses and the chiefs, the Indians, and you know what I mean? I think that as Americans, we have to recognize that in any aspect of life, us as Americans have the fundamental right to disagree. Your job does not tell you that you cannot say or not say, because then you get ran into the whole, well, he didn't do it the right way. He didn't protest the right way. When I'm getting all those Antifa dudes is blocking up my road, on one hand I go, man, this is annoying. But then I go, even though they may be fascist and we don't agree personally because they haven't read enough books, with that being the case, even in their modicum of understanding, that is rebellion. That is the British was like, oh, these guys are throwing our tea into the thing. So we gotta look at it from that perspective if you choose to. That may come off a little mean or anti-American on my part. And I promise you, rebellion is the most American thing of all time.
Do you have any weed?
Yes, go ahead, Brian.
Just to piggyback on what he said, like I totally agree with that. And so for like the Colin Kaepernick issue, for example, like, and I'm pretty libertarian, so I totally, like, I get where he's coming from, all right? With his narrative, with his stance on the social, protest. However, where I draw the line with him, and I think a lot of people haven't been able to illuminate this, is if he really cared about playing football, I think he hijacked the cause because he was at the end of his career and he was the lowest rated quarterback in the league. Now, why hasn't he tried to play in the Canadian League? Why hasn't he tried to play in the XFL? Right? Because if that's really what it's about playing, because there's a lot of people in sports who are saying that privately in the locker room. Right? So I just want to put that out there because I don't think it's been illuminated very much. So.
And that's one thing that I wanted to say was when my friend talked about the rebellion. A lot of us work on our jobs. A lot of us probably can't rebel or you're going to get fired. Now, it's up to you it's up to you to decide whether you want to stay on that job or move, and that's your decision. My thing with Colin was he didn't find his activism until he was benched. When he was benched and he stopped the bench from flying up into the air for a couple of weeks, then next thing you know, he was kneeling. He took another teammate down with him. Then we start hearing the reason. My problem with that whole thing, and you touched on some great points, but my problem with the whole thing is, I've said on my show many times, when the season's over, they don't protest. They don't march. They don't hold conventions and conferences, and they don't do all these regular things that they do during the season when the television is on. And that's why a lot of people have stopped going to the games, because just like everybody said, they don't want to see them. They're paying 50, 60, 70 bucks, and you're seeing somebody on the field that is kneeling when the flag goes up, and they're more patriots. There are more American patriots that go to football games.
Well, what you're saying is even worse, is that it's not even real, that
To me-
it's a showbiz act of making your voice heard rather than living the life.
But we can't do that, and okay, if we give them that as the players, I gotta look at ownership too. You guys weren't making the national anthem a thing until a few years ago. Like, we can't just only look at the players. You guys were paid by the government to do the flag thing years back, not 20 years ago, not 50 years ago. This is a fairly new phenomenon.
You mean playing the anthem at the beginning of the game?
The players were in the back when the national anthem was going on until you took the money as the ownership, as the league, to make it look more patriotic. So we can't condemn, why are we only condemning the working man, even though the working man is making 300, 400, 500,000. I want you, this is America, baby. I'm a capitalist. Get as much money as you can.
Well,
But at the same time, we can't just look at the workforce and not look at ownership. You guys took money to make this patriotic symbol, so if the players are fake when the cameras are on them, how fake is ownership?
Yeah, but the players are not paid to play sports.
Neither are the owners.
Now listen, I mean, I'm not paid. I do TV. You ready? I'm not paid to do TV and radio. I'm paid to entertain. The players are not paid to play football. They're paid to entertain. We're not talking about what people have a right to do or don't want to do. You're daggone right. This is America. He can do whatever. He can crap on the flag if he wants to. This is America.
And everyone has a right to say, why would you do
But
that?
we're talking about what consumers want to consume. I can get on my TV show tomorrow and pull out the phone book of Boston and just for an hour read through every single thing, and they're gonna change the channel. And I don't have a right to stand up on stage and say, man, my ratings are in the toilet. You people hate freedom. No, people are here to be entertained. They were here to be entertained. So if you're not doing something to facilitate their entertainment, they're gonna go elsewhere. It's not a matter of having a right to do it. He's got a right to do it. Anybody has a right to do it. But you better be aware, and I see this all the time from these athletes. You see it from the U.S. women's soccer team. Well, we're not paid the same. You're not as entertaining. People don't want to see it, so they don't watch.
Right. So I'm agreeing with you. Freedom of speech or movement or action doesn't nullify your freedom of consequence, right? So I'm a person that carries a gun a lot of times. I know that if I shoot someone, even in self-defense, it better be a slam dunk. Your freedom to defend yourself may potentially come with a consequence. So I'm not saying that. But at the same time, I think that speaks to us. We're in America. We are so hell-bent on only being entertained. The problem with that is your infrastructure of your country, your bridges are horrible. The problem is because we've been being entertained for so long and not engaging politically, even in those massive spaces like places where we're being entertained, leftist agenda has infiltrated your school systems from kindergarten to the university level while you were being entertained. You know? So that speaks to us, to the point where we're saying, let's listen to these different perspectives. And I can disagree with this guy, and if he's a trash quarterback, dude, you're trash. And I like you, but you're trash. You know, I think that speaks more to us. If we only want to, this has happened 1,000 times, bread and circuses.
But you know, my thing moves more toward the activism side, because I'm not saying that I was raised up in activism, but again, my dad was a pastor, my mom was Sunday school superintendent. We lived in Cambridge. Now, for all of y'all that don't know, Cambridge almost burned down in the 60s. One of the Black Panthers came and was shot. As a matter of fact, they got him out of town in a hearse, as a matter of fact. Spiritual Agnew went down there and a lot of things. So my mom and my dad taught me a whole lot about activism. And there's times to do that to get the maximum effect. However, I don't see any, has anybody here in this room did any activism on your job?
Well, different.
Corporate job. But you know what, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Conservative thing. No, but many of you that have corporate jobs,
Right.
you don't go in and march in front of your cubicle. You don't kneel in front of your office and say, well, I ain't going in because I saw something on TV and y'all ain't doing that. Why? You wouldn't be working there. Now, y'all talk about owners. Owners own. Owners own. They make their rules. Guess what? Just like you said, Ice Cube, he went out and did his own thing. We need more people to go out and do their own thing. Because then maybe that can be a form of, guess what?
Protest.
We need to change some things too.
Right.
But you don't do it if the contract for these players, they ain't got nothing about no activism on the contract. The contract says you shoot the ball, you get the money at the end of the week, we go to the next game. That's it.
Are we okay with that though? Are we no, but listen, I feel you, right? But contracts can always be renegotiated. Are we okay with telling Americans, and I'm not saying I'm agreeing in the sense of listen, there's things about Cap that I completely disagree with. An undisclosed amount of money that I haven't seen go back to the community, I gotta question that. Right? But at the same time, are we as Americans, are we okay with the concept of saying to our young people, hey, if you want to play at this level and achieve this amount of money, you got to be quiet for something that you individually see as wrong?
Yes, because that's what it's called being a profession.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's not that it's just one specific person either. I mean, to Wayne's point, look, if I had some corporate job at H&R Block and I wanted to come in every day and, do the PETA thing or do whatever it may be, brother, that's fine. You can do that outside in the parking lot, but as soon as you walk on my property and do my job, shut up or do it somewhere else.
Was that, so Tim Tebow, what was his situation when he was kneeling praying?
He did it after a touchdown.
And he did.
I just didn't know.
Well, I mean,
At least he scored touchdowns. That wasn't the case. Tiana, hop in here.
Okay, so if I may bring
Let me
up
tell you guys something.
3 very important words about celebrity activism in the past 2 years, which are Kim Kardashian West. And the reason why I bring her up is because, we had all of these years of Colin Kaepernick kneeling for the national anthem, and as a more libertarian-leaning conservative, I was quite sympathetic to what he was doing. I think that cases like the Sandra Bland case did prove that we have a problem with a militarized police force that tends to disproportionately affect Black Americans, and that is a reprehensible legacy of slavery. However, when given the opportunity to lobby a president uniquely conditioned to listen to celebrities, all of these celebrity athletes did not come to him. You saw someone like LeBron James, who has a massive social platform, a big heart, and clearly the correct passion and the correct direction, not using the fact that Donald J. Trump loves famous people and he listens to them. Who took advantage of that? Kim Kardashian. Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. And so I think that for those of us who are on the fence about the whole Kaepernick dilemma, that no one from the NFL has gone to Trump and said, these are the demands that we have about our criminal justice system that does disproportionately affect Black Americans. It contributes to a sense that it is to save him from being benched, and that we all suffer as a result. If you have the celebrity capital to do it, go ahead, get it done. That I'm in support of. What I'm not in support of is having it feel like it was just a stunt for the past 4 years.
The way that the system is set up is that you can do all the X's and O's, you can draft right, you can get the right coach, but the problems to all of your problems are fixed with winning. Once you win the Super Bowl, you win the World Series, you win the NHL Cup. That brings visibility, that brings endorsement deals. There are trappings that come along with winning. We've seen a lot of folks. It's always been tradition, the winning college football team, the winning team for this and that. You get that trip to the White House. and all of a sudden it's an opportunity for activism to say, I'm not going to go to that White House. And maybe you get to do that when you're winning. I think what upset so many people like Colin Kaepernick is that he wasn't even in the league, and he hadn't earned perhaps the opportunity to have such a loud megaphone that the world seemed to focus on. Now, Brock and Jesse specifically, what set that whole thing off in a lot of ways was the Nike shoe deal. Was Nike, Phil Knight, turning Colin Kaepernick into their poster boy. And Nike advertising is considered the gold standard for advertising, going back to Air Jordans and Just Do It. You want to talk about slavery? It's the kids in the sweatshops who were putting those shoes together. They get sold for $200. Jesse Kelly, hop in here.
Well, let's be honest. When it comes to corporate America going left and doing these things that we view as anti-American, that's our fault. And because and nobody likes to hear that, and I don't like to. I mean, I'd love to look in the mirror, but not for that reason. It's our fault. Corporate America sits down in a boardroom and they make a business decision, and their business decision is, well, we can pander to the right, and the left will immediately unify and boycott and hurt our bottom line, or we can pander to the left, and the left will still buy our stuff, and everyone on the right will do that thing that we always do of, well, I mean, what are you going to do, not go to the games? And so their bottom line doesn't get hurt at all. That's purely a business decision, and it's a genius one by Nike. As soon as Nike came out, I said the dumbest thing in the world and said they're going to get hurt. Their bottom line's going to get hurt by Kaepernick. And initially it took like a little dive, and then it rocketed right back up. It was a great business decision. You know why? Because not enough people on the right, which is half the country, stop buying Nike. And I'm not about this, boycott this and boycott that, because as conservatives, you basically have to hide in your basement your whole life and not ever go to a movie or a game. But the truth is, they know in boardrooms, they can treat you and me like a whipping boy, and if they do that to the left, they get whipped back. So they make a simple decision, and they take advantage of the fact that we don't care, and that's on us.
Poor people in China make the Nike sneakers. Middle class people in China buy the emerging middle class, thanks to corrupt economic practices and currency manipulation, buy the sneakers. What role does America play in the whole Nike thing anymore, given that it's so much about reaching those billion folks on the other end of the touch?
To touch on that just a second.
Yes, of course.
In full disclosure, so my father was a college basketball coach for 30 years, and he worked for Nike after that. And he claimed that the Kaepernick decision was for shock value. That's the way Phil Knight rolls, and he likes that. But they have a bottom line to answer to. Now, having said that, they should always keep politics out of sports, okay? Because politics, they look for sports. I mean, I always tell them, and I've been fortunate enough because I've been able to kind of go back and forth between both terrains, but I always ask people in politics, I said, you have politicians, presidents, congressmen, and they pay top dollar to sit front row of the game. When have you ever seen an athlete pay top dollar to watch a congressional vote? and you see sports, right? And we have a scoreboard every day.